The winners of Illinois Academy of Criminology's Transforming the Criminal Justice System essay contest presented their ideas to President Preckwinkle on Friday, September 15th, 2017.
So, good afternoon. I'm delighted to have you here to talk about police community relations and reducing violence. I want to express my thanks to the Illinois Academy of Criminology and to Mr. Edward Mogul, who's representing the Academy. And particularly I want to thank them for their recognition of scholars like David Olson at Loyola, who's been so helpful to us. And I know the Academy keeps alive the memory of some of the great men and women who've worked hard to reform and humanize our criminal justice system. The first is Hans Maddock, who started out in reform school and became an active member of the Illinois Academy of Criminology and a major scholar, and I understand he was the first psychologist to run the Cook County Jail and resigned over an execution held at the jail. He was not only an opponent of the death penalty, but he was also an early advocate of gun control. And the second I want to acknowledge is Mary Powers, who was a devoted public servant and who did important work in pretrial services. She and her staff provided judges with the kind of information that they need to keep people who should not be in jail from being locked up. And I want to thank Mr. Mogul for creating this essay competition and for working tirelessly on behalf of the Academy and the cause of enlightened reform.
Ilce Perez, a student at Harper Community College, won first place with her thoughts on improving police and community relations.
My name is Ilce Perez.
A little better, okay.
And my major is in criminal justice, and I hope to one day be a narcotics detective. I chose this career because I want to be able to help my state of Illinois in combating delinquency against the use of drugs, and also I want to be able to give discussions in schools about the use of drugs and how they have negative outcomes in one's life, not just physically but mentally as well. That way I can prevent any young teens from consuming these type of drugs. So for my essay topic, I chose about bettering the relationships between the officers and the community, and I chose this topic because officers are always coming into contact with people on a daily basis. I don't think there's one day where there's absolutely no contact. There's always going to be some type of interaction in their job, and today some citizens actually have a negative image of an officer. They think that they are biased, corrupt, and aggressive, which is why I think police departments should really emphasize the importance of communication, because it's not just how you say something, but in the tone and how you say it, in your facial expressions and body language that leaves either a positive or negative image of that officer. And so for my first idea is having more foot patrols. I think that having foot patrols gives I'm so sorry. Foot patrols are a better alternative because it gives citizens a different perspective of the typical officer. Officers today spend more time in their squad cars, and you can pretty much see them in every corner in front of schools, stores, or even maybe around the corner of your own house. I feel that police departments should really encourage officers to walk around their community, spend maybe 1 to 2 hours of their time either on duty or off duty to just really get to know the demographics and cultural backgrounds of their of their community. I feel that having more foot patrols gives citizens a sense of protection, that way that they're not fearing that something bad will happen to them. Once that trust and confidence has been established, citizens can be of great use. I think bystanders are a very important part of any investigation because they see things that officers don't really get to see because they're in their cars all day. And because they're in their cars all day, they don't really get to see these small problems that are going on in their community. That's why I feel that police department should really encourage officers to walk around, engage in friendly conversations with these citizens, and just really asking them if they feel safe in their neighborhood. If not, are there any concerns or any suspicious activity going on? citizens can reply that there may be a lot of drunks, a lot of vandalism, loitering, burglaries, issues like these that officers don't really get to see because they're in their cars all day. And to me, this shows that citizens can be very helpful to officers, because with this newly obtained information, officers can use that to help these small crimes from happening again. And my second idea, although it is important to reduce the amount of crime that goes on in our community, I think to better improve that relationship, officers need to let citizens have a voice, especially in poor, disadvantaged communities where minorities don't really get to say what they feel. And this idea kind of inspired me from a video I saw about racial profiling. It was done by Jamil Javana, who is the founder of Policing Initiative. And he kind of talks about his own personal experience with a police officer. So in the video, he talks about how Jamil lived in a poor neighborhood all his life, and how one day he happened to be walking down the streets and all of a sudden a police officer pulled him over. The officer stated that he was looking for a suspicious black character and that Jamil happened to fit that description. And so he was later taken down to the police department for further interrogation. And during the interrogation, the officer was asking him a series of unnecessary questions. He was treated very unfairly. The officer acted a little aggressive towards him, and he was basically treated him like he was a criminal, even though he wasn't. And after the whole interrogation, the officer found out that Jamil wasn't the character that the suspicious character that they were looking for, and so released him. And the next day, Jamil actually filed a complaint against the department and asked to speak to the officer personally. And during that talk, Jamil kind of explained to the officer how he was being really unfairly to him, how he wasn't treated like a human being, that he was treated more of like a criminal, and how he didn't really like that the officer was being biased towards him just because Jamil happened to be black and the officer was looking for a black suspicious character didn't give the officer the right to treat him the way he did. And so I think that having the police department encourage citizens to file these types of complaints and really having citizens talk personally with the officer will kind of let the officer know what his mistakes were and how that they could better improve that relationship. That way, when an officer has a similar encounter, they know how to better improve their relationship. And my last thought is having officers attend friendly community and school events. That way that they are interacting with children of all ages, adults of all ages. And that way officers can teach these citizens about safety. They could teach them about how to keep your children safe, how to secure your valuables, how to not become a victim of any type of burglary. Safety precautions like these that citizens, I think, need to know. And community events also give citizens the opportunity to give their feedback to these officers on whether or not they are working efficiently in an ethical manner. So that way, both sides can get an understanding of what they need to do to improve their relationship. And well, community events are always going to be fun for everybody. So I think that both sides will really learn a lot. And so all of these ideas will kind of show citizens that officers are willing to take the extra step and actually really improving their relationship and really caring about the safety of their own community.
Michael Jarmorolin, a student at Wright College who is a Marine Corp veteran, explained to the president how he believes veteran-run mentoring programs could help reduce violence in our communities.
Now, I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps back in 2010, and I've been in for almost 8 years now. Here, they really broke me down and built me right back up, so I got exposure to speak up. I think that's what's lacking in my character. to just be out there, be confident, and speak. So I got to this point. I can convey my messages.
Good for you.
Thank you, ma'am. In the Marines, they really instilled us discipline, respect, and I think with those kind of mindset, ma'am, that every military service folks that are out there have the sense of purpose and the really task-oriented mindset. Therefore, with this kind of mindset, I am trying to incorporate the local veterans in our communities as an asset to help reduce violence in the community. Local veterans can be a mentor to the youths in the communities and guide them to make better decisions and live better lives. Programs like the Big Brothers, Big Sisters here in Chicago are a good sample. A few local members of the veteran group that I knew, called the New Era Veterans of Chicago, have helped youths, a couple of them, turn their lives around for the better. Because of the mindset I was talking about, the camaraderie, the bond was there, and you got to have a one-on-one talk to the youth, troubled or not, and some of them actually got nice jobs now. So in a meeting that we had, we have this fellow come up and share his stories, and it was really remarkable how they, from doing some like stealing bad things to having like an actual job now out there. So that's why I really implemented to have the veterans, local veterans get involved, their assets, because we don't have issues of race, ethnicity, religion, and whatever label names that they use out there, which divide much of this country. In the military, it's absent, in my personal experience. This is why it's not an issue. And as a veteran, I know that when given an opportunity, we as a community will have a task done and done right. In conclusion, veterans are assets to combat violence in the community. And I strongly believe that the youth desperately needs a good role model. Veterans are already equipped with this mindset and this knowledge of mentorship. It is tested within the ranks of a junior Marine to a senior commander. And then proper use of our resources makes this possible. So fund those programs that supports this, like Big Brothers, Big Sisters here in Chicago. This in turn will strengthen the bond between veterans and their community. And this kind of alleviate the work for the police as well. And that's all I have.
The competition was open to community college students throughout Cook County. This has been a look inside Cook County.